Guys, my life is a mess right now. I had this huge 30th birthday party and then spent a week on my couch doing nothing. Now my room is a mess, my laundry is dirty, and I'm completely off of my routine. Hi, my name is Jem. Welcome back to the channel. These are some messy but real days in my life living in New York City as I try to get my life together. If you're interested in an honest look into balancing routine life, I encourage you to stick around. Getting back into your routine after a few weeks of being off your game is like trying to ride a bike for the first time in years. Like, yeah, you know what to do and it will come back to you eventually, but it's gonna take a couple of tries to get your balance and forward momentum. Same goes for weeks off from vlogging, because let me tell y'all, I kept forgetting to pick up the camera to record. So here we are at the beginning of the week, me finally sitting down to talk to y'all. Hi y'all. It is a beautiful day out. I'm outside in my backyard. I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I have been really out of it. And if you watched my last vlog, you saw that I threw myself a huge birthday party. And it turned out beautifully. But honestly, I was on such a climb with that birthday party and I reached this like climax of it. But the way down from that climax, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, was rough. And it sucks because like I put in all this work to have a really great 30th birthday, and then my first 2 weeks of being 30 have been challenging. So this is the thing. After my birthday party, I had a really hard time coming down from it because I immediately woke up with so much regret, which is really sad when I think back on it, but it just is how I felt. I felt a lot of regret because I didn't take as much photos and videos as I wanted. For me, not taking photos and videos was a symptom of my lack of presence because it went so fast. I legit feel like I barely remember the party, and I had spent so much time planning and being excited for this that I really felt a deep sense of regret for not being more intentional with the few hours I had during the party. And I kind of pulled myself out of it the best I could. I went out to eat with my mom, but then the rest of the week I did absolutely nothing. And I let myself do nothing. Being real, being honest, like being vulnerable, I got in a fight with my mom after we spent a really nice day together. And that put me in a really weird mood for the rest of the week. I'm someone who is so routine based that like I felt a lot of guilt for doing nothing, but I also knew I needed the rest. So that week after my birthday was a complicated mix of regret, family drama, and like personal, internal, existential crisis. I've been fighting for my life, to be honest. I like wanted to vlog this whole week to show myself getting back into my routine after my birthday week, and nope, that didn't happen. Today is the first day that I can feel like I'm truly in front of the camera in earnest and filming. So hi guys, I'm trying to get my life together. I'm here. Hi. I usually like to reset on the beginning of the week, but it's the weekend and I'm actually going to use this weekend to get my life together. Today is Friday. I have therapy at 12. I like to go on a walk when I have therapy, so I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in my mind. Hopefully that relieves something and I can continue like shedding some of this weight that is on me. And for the rest of the weekend, I'm just going to do what I can to set myself up, and I don't know what that's going to look like, and hopefully you find some entertainment in watching me get my shit together. But tomorrow I'm gonna go out to Long Island to visit my dad. This weekend is Father's Day, but we're gonna celebrate it tomorrow. I kind of had a wake-up call where I was like, oh my god, I am having family time on Saturday. I need to lock in. For me, family time is always an emotional, mental toll, even physical toll. It's just something that I need to support myself and take care of myself before, during, and after. And so hopefully y'all can relate to that. I'm sure a lot of people can. So this is my weekend of getting myself in order and balancing family time with also trying to get myself right. I do not want next week to go the way this week went. I am grateful for YouTube, grateful for the space where I'm able to kind of synthesize the things that I'm going through and document it and make it more of a diary entry for myself. There's something about it that I do think is helpful for me, and hopefully it's helpful or entertaining or, you know, relatable to you in some way. Thanks for being here, y'all. Knowing that I have been in a challenging headspace, I'm being extra mindful of how I show up for time with my family. This means leaning into my routine, journaling, reading, meditating, touching grass. These are things that for me help me stay centered. It has taken me years to figure out how to cope with the complicated, emotional, intense dynamics that can come up when it comes to family. I think a lot of people can relate to growing up and having to relearn what their relationship to their family will be now that they're adults. It has taken me the better part of 12 years, but I have learned that as much as I want to be a good family member, my top priority is twofold: looking out for my future self and soothing my younger self. This is work that only I can do. I've learned you cannot control or change people. The best you can do is learn to accept them as they are. Set your boundaries clearly and kindly, and regulate your nervous system the best you can. This applies to anyone in your life, but especially your family. I've learned the hard way that if I don't put myself first, that I will end up resentful and suffer for it. I also have learned self-sacrifice is something that will often backfire on you, damaging your relationships in the process. So yes, it is true that you must put your own mask on before you put on someone else's. So here I am trying to do just that by leaning into my routines as a form of self-care. I cannot always predict what will happen once I am in an unpredictable moment, but I can do the work to ground myself to the point where I am moving from a self-aware and regulated place. That being said, because my parents live about an hour and a half away, I realize sometimes it's hard to maintain my sense of groundedness after the long drive. I notice that I tend to dissociate if a drive is particularly brutal, which this day it was. Dissociation has become a red flag for me that I am not in my body and no longer regulating well. So it was helpful to take note of my surroundings and talk myself through the dissociation. Once I got to Long Island, I made sure to stretch and give myself a second before stepping out the car and jumping straight into a family setting. Again, I try to do the little things, starting with just noticing how I'm feeling and adjusting what I can from there. Y'all, I drove 2 hours to get to Long Island to only spend maybe 3 hours here. Now I have to drive another hour and a half to get home. So total hours driving, 4.5. Total time spent here, 3 hours. So it doesn't even equal out. But I had a nice time seeing my family. I got some quality time with my brother, and it's a beautiful day out, and I'm gonna get home before 7 o'clock. And I'm gonna take that as a win. And that means tonight I get to enjoy myself, and then tomorrow I get to really properly be energized for a day of a Sunday reset. Me and my boyfriend are gonna go to Trader Joe's, the farmer's market. I'm gonna get myself set up for the week. So you know what? I'm gonna take this as a win, even though I've spent the majority of my day driving. But grateful that I got here safely. I'm gonna be grateful when I get home safely and when I get home before 7 o'clock. And I had an IC today. I had a Ralph's IC today, and it was delicious. I went for raspberry instead of my classic mango, and I'm really glad I did that. Yeah, and had a nice time with my family. It wasn't as big and scary as I thought. It went perfectly, pleasantly, and now I go home. That's the thing about Long Island. It takes a long time to get here sometimes, and it is an exhausting drive. But here we go. Home we go. Hi y'all. Hello. Good morning. It is Saturday. I'm lying. I wish it was Saturday. It is Sunday. I am feeling tired. After spending the day driving yesterday, I went to the park for a little bit, which I'm really glad I did. Came home, had dinner, had all these intentions to watch Obsession on my couch with a bottle of wine. But by the time I finished dinner, my eyes were half closed. I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to bed. I slept at least 9 hours. I just slept and slept and slept. And I had really deep, weird dreams, which I tend to have. And so I woke up this morning so tired. And I'm still feeling that tiredness. But we have to go grocery shopping. My fridge is criminally empty. So we're gonna go to the farmer's market. We're gonna go to Trader Joe's. I'm going to muster the energy to leave my house. Future me will thank me. And that's what I try to remind myself whenever I'm trying to get my life back on track. I'm really often doing it for my future self, who will have to pay the consequences if I don't do the work in the present. So gonna journal a little bit, gonna meditate, and then gonna get dressed and head out. Getting myself to feel energized to do things in my life is reframing my perspective on it. When you look at your life as a burden, it will feel like a burden. So I think that it's one of those things of perspective, and this is one of those mornings where I am definitely pivoting my perspective so that I can get through this very, very sleepy Sunday. The thing about getting back into my routine is that it feels like I'm trying to push the Sisyphusian boulder up my own personal hill. And for me, it leads to this dragging of my feet about anything and everything. The pen that runs out of ink, the laundry piling up, the drive to the supermarket. But my favorite thing about vlogging is that looking back on these clips, it all seems okay. I know it took effort, but I'm not thinking back on this Sunday reset as something that really took a lot out of me. If anything, it re-emphasized my ability to do things I don't want to do. It helps remind me that these things I do to look out for my future self are always worth it on the other side of that effort I'm avoiding. And once I get into a groove and find my momentum, there is nothing better. I highly recommend reflecting back on difficult moments, whether that be through journaling, some kind of creative practice, or just by recapping your week to remind yourself of what you are capable of. After we got back from our Trader Joe's run and unpacked the groceries, I had a little snack, caught up on some YouTube videos before stepping out to get my steps in, still dragging my feet a bit, but grateful for this time of the year where the weather makes it easier to want to be outside. The next day, Monday, is a gloomy one, but I finally feel more like myself than I did last week, which was my goal when I first hit record at the start of this vlog. I'm still trying to find my footing, but I know that this kind of thing doesn't happen overnight as much as I wish it did. If you're trying to reset your life, I hope you find your way back to yourself soon, and I'll see you next time.